Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Wa'am Dakhil. I'm a Saudi journalist and TV presenter, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to day 2 of PIF Private Sector Forum and to our track dedicated to tourism, travel, and entertainment ecosystem. So yesterday, day 1, focused on vision and opportunity, and day 2 is all about scale, impact, and execution. Because tourism in Saudi Arabia today is no longer an emerging sector. It's becoming one of the kingdom's most powerful and economic growth engines. And at the center of that transformation is one simple but critical fact and reality. Tourism cannot grow through public investment alone. Its long-term success depends on strong, innovative, and competent private sector partnership and participation, which is exactly where we begin today's conversation. The session Unlocking the Future of Tourism in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia with the support of the private sector begins now. So please join me in welcoming my esteemed panelists. We have with us Greg Jarjian, Chief Investment and Legal Officer at Red Sea Global, Amir Saati, Chief Strategy and Investment Officer at Al Balad Development Company, and Abdullah Al-Bloui, Head of West Coast Investment Management Section at PIF. Please, a big round of applause to my esteemed panelists. Thank you. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, good to see you.
How are you?
Very well.
Amazing. Okay. Mic, please. Okay, good. Right. All good, gentlemen? Great.
Mom.
I will start with Abdullah. So Abdullah, through your leading, your role leading the investment across the West Coast portfolio at PIF, effectively shaping one of the kingdom's most important tourism frontiers. So let's take here the PIF perspective. How is the West Coast being developed as single, scalable tourism market rather than a set of standalone destinations? And how does that matter for long-term private capital?
Thank you, Ayam, for the question. It's great to be here with you and my fellow panelists. And it's good to see how a private sector forum has evolved over the 2 days. I think PIF looks at the West Coast as one holistic platform for tourism. So when we speak about the West Coast, and by taking this approach, we're starting a full entire ecosystem for tourism. And just to give a background, the West Coast runs from Red Sea down toward Abha, which is located in the southern area of the kingdom. It's a lot of area to develop and to deliver on. Looking at our portfolio in specific, it's a very diversified and unique portfolio. We have different projects that are located over the coastal city. Each one of our projects has a very distinctive value creation, and we're trying to connect them through a bigger picture for the West Coast in specific. We have Greg here who will speak about the amazing thing for Red Sea, but for me, I'll give 3 different examples about what PIF is trying to develop within the West Coast. Maybe the first example is Ru'al Medina. So we have a project that is located in Al Medina, mainly hospitality driven, but the aim of this project not simply to develop hospitality keys. We're trying to enrich and enhance the visitor experience to Medina. And for today's topic, private sector, this project will be offering private sector many opportunity, whether from a scale or from form of the opportunity itself, in many sectors, whether it's residential, hospitality, or retail aspect. The second project that I can touch on is As-Souda. As-Souda, it's a mountain tourism destination that is located on the highest mountain within the kingdom, and will offer the same to private sector. So whether you're looking for religious tourism or a mountain tourism. I think the final project that I can touch on is Jeddah Central. It's more or less an urban waterfront destination that is located in a globally connected city, which is Jeddah. And in this project in specific, we recently heard about the news of One and Only be part of this project, and Atlantis as well, and many other opportunity will come toward this project. As a final note to this question, I think PIF is trying to unlock different opportunity within the value chain of hospitality that will allow private sector to participate in different asset classes.
Okay, let's now bring to life through one of the most visible destinations on that coastline. So we have the Red Sea Global. When we talk about luxury tourism, Greg, it's now evolving globally around, meaning, transformation, and good purpose. So how is the Red Sea Global redefining what global luxury tourism should look like?
Well, first of all, I'd say it's lovely to be here with my co-panelists. And Abdullah, if there's anyone in the room who maybe knows more about Red Sea Global than me, would probably be Abdullah, given the close supervision we have with our partner at PIF. But it's an amazing time at Red Sea Global. I look at some of the people in the audience who have been here longer. I've been here 4 years, and I have colleagues who've been here 8 years. At the time, it was a complete greenfield site. They went to the west coast, to the Red Sea. They began to look for assemblage. There was nothing there. They began to scout, in particular, the Al-Waj Lagoon for Red Sea, and I'll talk about Amala later. And now here we are, just 6, 7 years later, and we have 10 hotels already open. We have 15 hotels that are coming online by the end of this year. And I'd really focus you on 2 major projects in particular. There's Red Sea Project Phase 1, which will have 16 hotels. And there's Amala, which is just about 150, 200 kilometers up the coast. And people sometimes ask, how do you differentiate these 2 very important projects? And we say Red Sea Global is very barefoot luxury, island archipelago in this beautiful lagoon, while Amala is more of a coastal development, which will have a very significant wellness focus. But when you take a step back and you really think about it, I can't think in my career, and I've been in this business for 30 years, I can't think of 25 hotels essentially opening simultaneously within a compressed 12 to 18-month time period. So I think it's an extremely exciting moment for the Saudi Arabian tourism industry. Saudi's always been used to Hajj and Umrah tourism. It's been used to business travel in Jeddah, Dammam, and Riyadh. But this ultra-luxury tourism space, I think, is new for Saudi, and it's going to show a new vision of the kingdom to the world, which I think presents a lot of opportunity to PIF, to Balad, to Red Sea Global. So we're excited, and we hope everyone in the audience who hasn't already been there will come and visit us, inshallah.
Let me ask you personally, how do you feel working in this project? You have been here for 4 years. What do you feel when you look back at where it started and where it is now?
I feel pride. I feel a lot of pride. It's you go in first of all, you just look at this conference, which is, I don't even know, I used to call this a mini FII, but I don't think it's a mini FII because it feels just as busy.
This is customized FII.
So it's a single sovereign wealth fund that has created this whole ecosystem. The energy is so palpable, and there's so many different sectors, but to be within the tourism sector, which I think will present a significant part of Saudi GDP on a go-forward basis, it's an honor, it's a privilege, and it's truly very exciting.
Amazing, great to hear that from you. Yeah. Okay, from a destination that's shaped by nature and scale, let's now move to one shaped by history and memory. So, Amir, historic districts around the world often struggle between, the balance of preservation and activation. So what investment frameworks allow Al-Balad to remain economically vibrant while also protecting the identity and authenticity of the place?
Okay, so how we look at it, Al-Balad is not just a heritage destination, it's more of a vibrant, living district. It caters, it already has its own community, it has its own residents, its own merchants, and so on. So our development approach looks at understanding the past, understanding the history, building the narrative around it, looking at the present and all of the activities that is happening across all of the asset classes and the purpose of travels, and then looking at also at the future. So when it comes to balancing activation and commercially viable products, we need to create a balance where it's not there is over activation in the area, to make sure that the actual products get enhanced while capitalizing on the current anchors. So if you visited Al Balad, there are a lot of existing markets, from the gold market to the spice market, the cloth market, and so on. So these existing tenants create already an ecosystem around it. However, these has pain points. These have gaps. So our role is to create the ecosystem around these gaps, around these current anchors, and make sure that the activation complements these offerings, so that it by default becomes an economically viable for investors in the private sector.
Interesting. Okay, now let's come back to the PIF and look at how these models actually are enabled at the market scale. So what role does the PIF play in de-risking and sequencing the West Coast tourism market, and how does that shape the nature of a private sector participation over time?
Thank you, Am. I think this is a very important topic, and allow me to look at it from a bigger picture. So when we speak about tourism at a national scale doesn't fail because of lack of capital. I think capital has been there and will continue to be there. What makes tourism fails when complexity is not really sequenced in the right manner. Here where PIF role comes to life. So our role is to absorb this complexity, to ensure that we're forming the right market, to allow capital to come and invest in our project. We're building a large-scale tourism destination, which requires heavy infrastructure, a lot of planning, environmental framework that need to be resolved before it's ready for private sector. And looking at how our destination are ranked in different stages, as we see destination evolves, we're moving from a greenfield project toward operational assets, and we're moving from pioneer capital to a growth yield-oriented investment. Maybe I'll give a couple of quick examples. Today, private sector are welcome to invest in Royal Medina, for example, which is a project is in the infrastructure phase, and they're also welcome to invest in Red Sea, for example, which has already opened their hotel and its operation. When we look at our flagship destination, we established this destination to have standards and to give confidence and transparency, which will allow private sector to come and participate with the full confidence in this project. So just to summarize, our role in PIF is to de-risk this opportunity and to ensure that when private sector are coming to participate, they can participate at scale with confidence and clarity.
All right. Well, performing at scale. Let's shed light here on performing while having sustainability at the core of the Red Sea Global. So the question is, how do you turn sustainability from a responsibility into a competitive investment advantage?
Well, we like to say at Red Sea, we're trying to move, and it's not just a tagline, we're trying to move beyond sustainability to regeneration. And what does that mean? It means we're saying we don't want to just leave the place as well as we found it. We actually want to improve the local conditions. So first of all, when we took over the asset and the assemblage, we did a major marine spatial analysis to make sure that all of the development initiatives that we would take would not impact the overall environmental condition. We did a major baselining study of marine life, mangrove conditions, coral. And why do we do this? We did this because we said, okay, we're doing this in 2018. And we know where the world is going with respect to ESG. There's going to be more third-party credentializing. More institutional capital is going to demand that there's that degree of discipline in terms of the environmental credentials. And frankly, not only that, but I think today, tourists across luxury but also different sectors, as part of their decision about where they're going to go visit, they want to know that there's regeneration and sustainability ethos within it. So it's actually smart investment to pursue that. It can be a little bit more expensive at times, Two of the things we're particularly proud of, though, is we did 2 multi-utility concession agreements for each of Red Sea and Amala. With Red Sea, we partnered with Aqua Power. For Amala, we partnered with EDF, Électricité de France, and Masdar. These are completely 100% renewable and lead to having the largest battery storage farms, some of the largest battery storage farms in the world, because you need the resort power 24/7. So we're walking the walk in a very real way on that.
And talking the talk.
And talking the talk, and we think sophisticated capital and sophisticated tourists will appreciate that, and it will be accretive to us over the long term, even if sometimes it can be a bit more expensive upfront.
Will it change also the investors' expectations?
Well, yes. I mean, I think investors are presuming and wanting there to be the ESG credibility that comes with having that reputational halo effect to the investment. And it also applies to debt financings and the like also. When we do debt financing, we've been able to tap the debt markets 4 times in Saudi. We did a 14 billion SAR debt finance facility for Red Sea Phase 1. Just last year, we closed a 6.5 billion debt facility for Amala Phase 1. We've done 2 debt facilities for our joint venture projects, which we can maybe talk about later. All of those are green financings, which have reporting requirements that show how those funds are being deployed in ways that lead to platinum LEED certifications, et cetera. So it's very real, it's very important, and we're proud of how we're moving into that space.
Absolutely. Great to hear that. So now let's shift to sustainability through culture with Amir. So globally, heritage is often treated as cultural preservation. So through Al Balad and other cultural districts, the Saudi Arabia actually repositioning heritage as economic infrastructure. So how does that unlock new investment opportunities around heritage-led destinations? Like Al Balad project.
Yeah, okay. So looking at the full value chain of Al Balad being a UNESCO World Heritage Site, it gives it a unique characteristic. It's different than a normal greenfield development project. Because first there are multiple guidelines to sustain the UNESCO accreditation, and at the same time operating in a heritage site where there is a lot of constraints or consideration that needs to be taken into account. So we're looking at the full value chain and we're dismantling it into activities. For example, like we don't demolish, we deconstruct and dismantle depending on the adjacency to historical assets that might impact the UNESCO file and so on. So to make sure that the full value chain to deliver the asset classes that we're targeting in terms of residential, hospitality, retail, F&B, offices and so on, we need to make sure that the private sector engagement with us are catered and specialized in these activities. From development, from contracting, also from providing sustainable services, going back to sustainability, that accounts for all of these constraints, which requires niche expertise that will allow global companies to actually come and share knowledge so that they can, the companies in Saudi or the private sector in Saudi can actually expand their growth locally, regionally, and even internationally.
Interesting. And that raises a question about, the narrative of the place. So in heritage tourism, storytelling can be as valuable as physical infrastructure. So who ultimately owns or creates the narrative of a place? It is the operators, is it the developer, the community, the memory of the place, the history of it? Who controls and creates the narrative?
Okay, so we have a regeneration plan. It's not a master plan. It gets updated every other year to make sure that we actually keep up with all the historical history behind the area, behind the district. So when we look at it, every time we find an archaeological finding, there are 3 types of archaeological findings. And significant that actually we can actually just show them out to the world. There are semi-significant and significant findings that you need to incorporate into your design, or it actually the entire asset gets expropriated to the regulator or the Minister of Culture to make sure that it's actually out there for the public. So the history and the narrative behind the historical site is controlled by Minister of Culture as of now. However, all of the developers, all of the operators, they will capitalize on these histories and these existing markets, the existing souks, the existing corridors, and they can actually have a very compelling offering in terms of commercial assets to be developed. And to make sure also that it's because Al Balad today is an active city, it's an active destination. Last Ramadan we had 3 million visitors. The Ramadan before that we had 2.5 million visitors. So there is an ongoing, there is a noticeable growth in terms of footfall. So that by default creates an economical value. So creating the narrative, we focus on experiences by looking at the past, the present, and where we're heading in the future.
Speaking of economic value, this will take me to the bigger regional picture with you, Abdullah. Back to PIF West Coast Vision. We would like to explore how tourism on that coastline structured to actually support the long-term value creation across the wider ecosystem, tourism, and what type of private sector opportunities does that unlock?
Sure. I think the important thing to remember is long-term value creation does not really happen when we build a single asset. It happens when we have a full ecosystem. So this is how we think about it within the West Coast. So we're trying to build the right tourism ecosystem. And focusing on our strategy of tourism, I think we're focusing into 3 different components. One is we would like to have a world-class experience through our different destinations, which is a key component in our project. 2, we would like to protect the environment. I think Red Sea and Al Balad are a very strong example on protecting the environment. And number 3, we want to have this cultural authenticity within our project. When we look at the ecosystem itself, it's not only, these projects are not only looking for a private developer or a private real estate developer. We're looking at the wider ecosystem, where once we develop this destination, the full unlock of the ecosystem will allow private sector to come and participate, whether they're focusing on leisure, experience, or mobility, or destination management. All of these aspects are part of an ecosystem that will be activated. So once these destinations are built, private sector can come and participate, whether they're developer, operator, or simply an investor. This project will unlock this opportunity for them to come and participate within these projects.
Amazing. And let's shift to one of the boldest example of that ecosystem Abdullah just shared with us, back to the Red Sea Global. So the destination is actually growing and the ecosystem is also growing in high demand. So where are the strongest opportunities emerging for mid-scale operators and providers?
It's a really good segue, actually, because I think Abdullah is spot on in framing it up as an ecosystem. So getting back to what I said at the beginning of the panel, as a greenfield destination, we've had to create a whole ecosystem around the Red Sea. We have an airport, we have supply chain, we have logistics, we have mobility on land, sea, water. So the investments that we've done so far with the private sector have been joint ventures. We did a joint venture with Prince Al Walid for the Four Seasons on our hub island of Shura, and we did a joint venture for the Jumeirah Hotel with Tariq Mutlaq. But we don't only have to think about Red Sea as a hotel investment opportunity,
exactly,
because we have the opportunities to look at innovative deal structures around staff accommodation, around mobility, around logistics, which also has the green credentials we talked about. So
full journey.
So inshallah, so we're going out to market. We're trying to partner with PIF to be more intrepid and to show, okay, the hotels are now open, more hotels are coming, but in this entire assemblage of these hotels, there are other opportunities to pursue for sophisticated capital. And the other thing I'd say, which is very high on my priority list, is the 2 JVs we've done to date have been with prominent Saudi capital. But I use this phrase, I say, even though there's so much sophisticated capital that comes to conferences like this in FII, I still think there's kind of people that are Saudi curious. They know so much is happening, they feel the energy, but they haven't quite figured out how to unlock it. And
part of it.
To be fully part of it in a bankable, risk-adjusted way. And so what we want to do now is we want to try to unlock more FDI. We did some FDI with EDF and Masdar on the PPP, but we want to bring more foreign investment, and we truly believe that partnering with PIF, we can figure out deal structures that will appeal to a broader investor universe even outside of the kingdom. So I'm very focused on that as well.
Do you have like an open invitation to investors and people interested to jump in that ecosystem chain? Do you have any message for them?
My message, ahlan wa sahlan, I'm here. Let's talk after the panel. But I'd love to have discussions.
Where they can start from?
Well, no, I mean, all joking aside, I'm here. We have colleagues on the investment team. We have very good relationships with our parent company, so we can have real dialogues around tangible opportunities. Absolutely.
Amazing. All right, let's bring back the urban context. So back to Al Balad with you, Amir. Boutique hospitality, curated retail, and cultural F&B are the emerging cores of Al Balad project. So where do you see the most investable private sector opportunities within these verticals?
Okay, so within these verticals, as we mentioned before, like Al Balad is a brownfield, is not a greenfield. So we already have the footfall, we already have the existing traders, the existing tenants, the residents, and so on. So across all of this, we're implementing a phased approach, focusing on the readiness of the assets, being a World UNESCO Heritage Site.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of constraints. We're not approaching the private sector until we have the cluster or the product is ready and investable, so that it will be commercially viable for them. So in terms of which one should they focus on, or the most investable one, it's across all. It's a district that covers all asset classes and not just focusing on one. And it's not just about a single niche positioning, it's across all positioning, from economy all the way to luxury. By the end of the day, it's a heritage destination, and it's also identified from Ministry of Tourism as a culture and heritage destination and a site that all type of visitors, all type of personas would actually come in Al Balad, whether as a resident, as a visitor, or even as a trader.
Great to know. Okay, now I would like to close by bringing all of you into the same frame to resonate with our audience. So if they take away one message from this session about the future of Saudi tourism, what should it be? Starting with you, Craig.
I think there's a big movement internationally for experiential tourism. People have their bucket list, certain destinations, but broadly speaking, I think the broad sector trend is people, yes, they want luxury, yes, they want a beautiful hotel, but they want a special experience. And I think what's being offered here in Saudi Arabia today combines all of that. We've got incredible physical product. We have incredible authentic hospitality, which really resonates because you have the emergence. You know, we're training, this is another pillar of Vision 2030.
Yeah.
We're training young, proud Saudis to come into the hospitality business. We have vocational institutes, we have hospitality credentializing. And they come and they're acting as ambassadors to the country, and you can feel the pride and the authenticity when they greet you. So the country's open, and it's an extremely exciting time to have a tourism where you don't have to sacrifice comfort, luxury. You have a very singular experience at the same time, and I think that makes it, whether it's for investment or personal travel, an amazing time to come and tap into the Saudi tourism ecosystem.
Amazing. Amir.
Okay, so there is a national target by 2030. We're targeting around 150 million visitors. That's in terms of tourism. And tourism is not just about hospitality, it's about the ecosystem around it. So obviously the hospitality requires staff accommodation, which requires an accommodation which translates into residential, and so on. And hospitality without retail will not work. So the entire ecosystem is actually the future that falls around tourism, is the future of is the future of how we're evolving. And making sure that we actually address all of the type of supply that complements this ecosystem is very important, and that will be definitely commercially viable for the private sector.
Amazing. Abdullah?
I think my message will be for private sector. We have a lot of opportunity within our portfolio for private sector to participate in, and we'd like to welcome them to come and participate with our project to develop the tourism ecosystem.
Amazing. Well, that's the best way to culminate this session. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of Unlocking Saudi Tourism with the support of private sector session. Please join me in giving my esteemed panelists a big round of applause. Thank you all. Thank you, for your time and participation.
Thank you very much.
Greg, Amir, and Abdullah. Greg, your phone? Is that your phone? Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We're going to commence the MOU signing ceremony. We need you to take your seats, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. حضورنا الكرام رجاء الجلوس في مقاعدكم. سنبدأ بعد قليل. شكرا لكم.
To keep in contact, how do I contact
Yeah.
you? I'm gonna
So, ladies and gentlemen, what we culminate and take away from the previous session is that tourism in Saudi Arabia is no longer about building destinations in isolation. It is about building connected ecosystems,
الوجهات بل بناء المنظومات التي تخلق الفرص وتجذب الاستثمارات وتقوي المجتمع وأيضا تضع المملكة السعودية على خارطة على قيادة خارطة السياحة العالمية. والقطاع الخاص كما تعلمون هم ليس فقط يشاركوا في هذا القطاع بل أيضا يساعدوا في تشكيلها. الآن ننتقل إلى أحد أهم اللحظات المهمة في هذا المنتدى. فكل هذه الحوارات القوية جدا، لكن الشراكات هي ما تحول الواقع إلى التي تحول الطموح إلى واقع وحقيقة. الآن وهذه الشراكات الموقعة تشير إلى الالتزامات والثقة
Ladies
في
and gentlemen,
المنظومة
we now
السعودية.
begin the MOU signing ceremony,
توقيع
and we
عدد
have
من
with us
المذكرات التفاهم
the
بين
first
عدد من
MOU
القطاعات
between رؤى المدينة Holding Company and PT Danantara Investment Management. Please join me in welcoming the representative of two entities to the stage. Hello and welcome. رؤى المدينة Holding Company and Danantara Investment Management. We have the representatives of both entities with us on stage and also witnesses. So as you can see, we witness now the signing of the MOU between Ru'a Al Madina Holding Company and PT Danantara Investment Management to explore potential strategic collaboration on investment opportunities in Ru'a Al Madina project and Dar Al Hijra project. Congratulations. Yeah, I would like also to invite the representatives, whoever from the team, Ru'a Al Madina Holding Company and PT Danantara, you can join on stage for a group photo. Welcome. Yes, please, join them on stage. Hello. We have the team from Ru'a Al Madina Holding Company and PT Danantara Investment Management, all on the stage to commemorate this moment. Congratulations. A group photo to mark this milestone. Representatives from Ru'a Al Madina Holding Company and PT Danantara Investment Management. Congratulations. Shall, okay. Next.
That's the only way for us to push the
Good. Okay. So next we have with us King Salman International Airport and Mohammed Al Habib Real Estate Company. Please join me in welcoming the representatives of both entities to the stage. Hello and welcome. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we have the representatives of this MOU between King Salman International Airport and Mohammed Al Habib Real Estate Company on stage with us here at the Travel, Tourism, Entertainment Ecosystem stage, signing the MOU between King Salman International Airport and Mohammed Al Habib Real Estate Company to collaborate on residential, retail office, and hospitality projects, including large-scale mixed-use developments. Congratulations. I would like to invite all the representatives from both entities to join them on stage for a group photo. We'll go. We did.
احنا متفقين ان السبع كلهم ورا بعض. متفقين السبع كلهم ورا بعض. متفقين ان السبع كلهم ورا بعض.
All right, next, ladies and gentlemen, we have MOU between Saudi Downtown Company and Sinomi Center. Please join me in welcoming the representatives of both entities to the stage. Hello and welcome. Hi, great, same here, great having you with us.
سجدين رغدة
DVD 161.
As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we're witnessing now the signing of this MOU between Saudi Downtown Company and Sinomi Center to foster investment and operational opportunities. Congratulations. And we also have with us witnesses. If there is the rest of the team from both entities, they can join on stage for a group photo. Please join them. Hello and welcome.
I'm 161 next.
We have representatives from Saudi Downtown Company and Sinomi Center on stage to mark this milestone with a group photo. Congratulations. All right. Thank you all.
احنا كينج سلمان.
One 161. Next, ladies and gentlemen, we have MOU between King Salman International Airport and Sumu. Please join me in welcoming the representatives of both entities to the stage. Hello and welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we're witnessing now the signing of this MOU between King Salman International Airport and Sumu to collaborate on master planned residential communities, mixed-use developments, and infrastructure through a strategic development and urban communities framework agreement. Congratulations, and we welcome the team of both entities, if you are with us in this room, to join us for a group photo. Representatives from King Salman International Airport and Sumu, welcome to the stage for a group photo. Here's a group photo. Representatives from King Salman International Airport and Sumo. Congratulations. Next, ladies and gentlemen, we have King Salman International Airport, but with Ajdan Real Estate Development Company. We will welcome now the representatives of both entities, King Salman International Airport and Ajdan Real Estate Development Company. So we have with us the representatives from both entities, King Salman International Airport and Ajdan Real Estate Development Company. We'll witness now the signing of this agreement between the two entities to collaborate on residential, commercial, lifestyle, and entertainment-focused mixed-use development supporting destination creation and economic activation. Congratulations. The team of King Salman International Airport and Ajdan Real Estate Development Company, please join them on stage to mark this milestone here at the Travel, Tourism, Entertainment Ecosystem stage at the PIF Private Sector Forum to commemorate this moment with a group photo. Ajdan Real Estate Development Company and King Salman International Airport. Congratulations. Next, ladies and gentlemen, it's an MOU between King Salman International Airport and Kinan. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the representatives of both entities. Hello and welcome. Representatives from both entities, King Salman International Airport and Kinan, are on stage together, and they will sign the MOU between the two entities to develop real estate projects in multiple sectors aligned with the airport's real estate development vision and strategy. Congratulations. We welcome the teams, the representatives of both entities. Please join on stage. Hello and welcome. A milestone to mark and to recognize here at the Travel, Tourism, Entertainment Ecosystem stage. We have representatives from both entities, King Salman International Airport and Kinan. After signing this MOU, they're now commemorating this milestone with a group photo. Congratulations.
272, 270, 271.
All right, next we have MOU between King Salman International Airport and USUS. Please join me in welcoming the representatives of both entities, USUS and King Salman International Airport. Hello and welcome. King Salman International Airport and USUS will now sign MOU to collaborate on real estate development, developing projects in multiple sectors aligned with the airport's real estate development vision and strategy. Congratulations. USUS and King Salman International Airport. The team of both entities, I welcome you back again to the stage. It's a full productive day for you guys. Hello and welcome again. We have the representatives from both entities, King Salman International Airport and USUS. They are here to commemorate this milestone. After signing the MOU between the two entities, USUS and King Salman International Airport. Congratulations. We still have with us the representative of King Salman International Airport, and now we welcome the representative of Arjuan. Welcome on stage. Hello and welcome. We're going to witness now, ladies and gentlemen, MOU signing between King Salman International Airport and Arjuan. Welcome, please have a seat. We'll witness now, ladies and gentlemen, the signing of this MOU between King Salman International Airport and Arjuan to collaborate on developing real estate projects in multiple sectors aligned with the airport's real estate development vision and strategy. Congratulations. Representatives from Arjuan and King Salman International Airport, I would like to welcome you to the stage. Welcome all. We have now the representatives from both entities, King Salman International Airport and Arjuan, for a group photo to mark and celebrate this milestone between the two entities. Congratulations. Next, MOU between King Salman International Airport and Rital. Please join me in welcoming the representatives of both entities. Have a seat. We're gonna witness now the signing of MOU between King Salman International Airport and Rital to collaborate on strategic development and urban communities developing real estate projects in multiple sectors aligned with the airport's real estate development vision and strategy. Congratulations. Please, the team, representatives from both entities, I welcome you back again to the stage. Hello and welcome.
166, 167, 160.
As we can see, the representatives from both entities are here to mark and celebrate this milestone. Congratulations. Next, ladies and gentlemen, we will witness the signing of MOU between MILAF Global Company, شركة ميلاف العالمية, and خيال الجنوب Company. Please join me in welcoming the representatives of both entities. Hello and welcome. We'll witness now the signing of the MOU between MILAF Global Company and Khayal Al Janoub Company to partner and collaborate in the catering sector, introducing products into the education sector and providing them with educational institutions. Congratulations. Representatives and team of MILAF Global Company and Khayal Janoub, you can join them on stage. Hello and welcome. To mark this moment, we have the representatives from both entities on stage for a group photo. Congratulations. Next, we still have MILAF Global Company and would like to invite Innovative Business Company, شركة الأعمال المبتكرة. We join. Hi. Please join us on stage. Representatives of MILAF Global Company and Innovative Business Company, شركة الأعمال المبتكرة. Hello and welcome. We have both representatives of MILAF Global Company and Innovative Business Company with us on stage, as we will witness now the signing of the MOU between the two entities to introduce MILAF Global Company's products within the catering sector of the Ministry of Interior. Congratulations. Representatives, the team of Milaf Global Company and Innovative Business Company, please join them on stage for a group photo. Hello and welcome. Congratulations. We still have with us Milaf Global Company for our third MOU, and the other party, Food Business Square Company, شركة ساحة الأعمال. We welcome the representative alongside the representative of Milaf Global Company to the stage. Hello and welcome. We'll now witness the signing of the MOU between Milaf Global Company and Food Business Square Company to collaborate in the catering sector between the two entities. Congratulations. We ask the representatives from both companies to join on stage for a group photo. Please join them to mark this milestone here at the Travel, Tourism, Entertainment Ecosystem stage at the PIF Private Sector Forum. Congratulations. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we just witnessed the MOU signing ceremony, and each agreement signed today reinforces the collaboration model that defines PIF approach, vision, and mission. And now we will shift our attention to sports and entertainment. So beyond stadiums, events, and leagues, there's an entire economic value chain developing around sports and entertainment. The real opportunity lies in how the private sector integrates into this rapidly expanding ecosystem. And to explore this exciting topic, please join me in welcoming our esteemed moderator, Ramya Farraj, senior presenter and producer at Forbes Middle East, and her esteemed panelists. Hello and welcome.
Thank you so much.
I pass the mic to you, Ramya.
Thank you, Wiam. Good afternoon, everyone. It's really my pleasure to welcome our panelists, Xavier Campbell, Sport Advisor at Surge, Mark Archer, Senior Director, Sports Business Development and Partnerships at Qiddiya, and Peter Brigham, Head of Asset Management at Qiddiya Investment Company. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for being here today. We're so fortunate to be joined by this very high-level panel to really look at the real opportunities and where they sit for the private sector across the sports and entertainment value chain, and how stadiums are designed and how they're operated and how fans experience them. Now, to set the stage for us, Mark, for those of us who don't know about Qiddiya and all of its grandeur, tell us about this really exceptional giga project.
Yeah, thanks, Ramya. And just a quick thank you to everyone at the PIF for giving us the platform and opportunity to tell everyone about our project, very special project, taking place about 30 kilometres from the site that we're on today. So the Qiddiya Investment Company was formed in 2017. Our first assets are now live. And just to add some context to the overall discussion, it's a groundbreaking, state-of-the-art city that is being designed and built just on the outskirts of Riyadh. So in terms of distance, Qiddiya City is in southwest Riyadh, about 45 minutes from the center of Riyadh, and we will have transportation obviously going directly to the city. One of the reasons that is behind Qiddiya City is that we want to drive economic impact. We want to bring economic returns to the kingdom, very much part of the 2030 vision. So just to set the scale of the city that we're building, when we're fully completed, we have 25 districts and 360 square kilometres of master planning.
Massive, 360.
Almost the size of Orlando.
Yes.
So it is a city within itself. We are part of Riyadh, but we will be an independent functioning city once we're fully established and mature, which will take some time.
How much time?
Well, we've got a horizon where we've got some really important events in 2034. FIFA World Cup is coming.
Yeah.
We also have the Asian Games.
Yeah.
And we need the city to be fully operational. We need venues up and running. We need everything that goes into a city, not just sports venues. We need 44,000 hotel keys.
Yeah.
We have 90 schools being built. We have a combination of residential, commercial, F&B, retail, everything that we take for granted in a normal city. And obviously it's pieced together with infrastructure that works. So when you talk about one sports asset or one entertainment theme park, it's just part of a really big jigsaw puzzle for us. We're continually moving pieces, which makes the project incredibly exciting. It's really going to be an amazing asset for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
It's really a huge undertaking, and with Saudi preparing to host the World Cup in just 8 years' time, we all know how time flies by. Xavier, tell us, how is the Saudi stadium landscape really evolving in the lead up to the mega event, and how is Surge thinking about venue operations?
Yeah, thanks, Ramya, and welcome everyone.
Well, I think your word of it's evolving and it's dynamic. What we're seeing is a landscape now that's serviced in a relatively narrow sense. You've got a couple of stadiums in Riyadh, LOL Park, Kingdom Arena. You've got some other stadiums under refurbishment now. You've got King Abdullah Sports City down in Jeddah, Prince Abdullah Faisal. So you have some assets now that are servicing what is an evolving and growing in an exceptional way the Saudi Pro League. But you're going to have a very dynamic stadium landscape as we come over the years. You've got PIF investing through the Giga projects, the development companies, and Mark and Peter will speak more about that. But you're seeing some exceptional assets coming to service a supporter base and entertainment base here that's excited for those assets, that are going to be far more flexible than what we've probably seen before. And it will probably make consuming sport in this country far easier than what has been to this point in time. But there's a lot of work that needs to happen to make that happen. You're seeing everyone's familiar with the FIFA bid book that's been put in place. There's 15 stadiums in that big book. We'll see what it ends up delivering at that point in time. Qatar, I think, started with 12 and finished with 8. But what we do know is they'll be world class. And with that comes the need to lift the level of service as it relates to the operations of the stadiums and the assets. And sport, with Surge, for those that don't know, Surge Sport Investment is a wholly owned PIF portfolio company. Probably most known, I think Danny Townsend, the CEO, spoke yesterday, most well known for their investment in IPs. You know, ATB Masters 1000, the Zones investment coming back into enhance the local ecosystem here. But another aspect they've been working on for the past 18 months is what does a centralised venue operating model look like, and that's something that I've worked closely with Danny and his team now. We've got hopefully some exciting announcements in the coming weeks and months ahead for a landscape that's probably yearning for something like that.
Well, we look forward to hearing about those updates, and essentially operations are becoming just as important, or even more so perhaps, than construction. I think it's safe to say that. And Peter, from an investment perspective, why do seamless access and personalization and year-round use really matter to long-term value?
Thanks, Robbie. And by the way, thanks to our hosts, PIF, for allowing us to speak today. Look, they matter to valuations because they matter to the fans. And increasingly, your modern fan is insisting on a blend of the digital and the physical experience. And at Qiddiya, that's what's driving the whole design behind Mohammed bin Salman Stadium. It's that blend of the physical and the digital. The modern fan is not going to accept the older generation of arenas and wants to have the information available, a digital experience that's customized to what they want. And so that's been our approach. And it's essentially, what's interesting is how esports, with the streaming that they're doing, the technology, the huge screens, are actually informing and driving change in the arena design world. And these two are actually, part of one, continuum of design changes that are happening. And so if you go to SoFi Stadium in LA, you see, the overall, the screen is 6,500 square meters, costs $40 million US. Is that a good investment? Well, really, given the kind of the kind of fan base you have now, you can't afford not to have that. And what are the benefits? It's really having higher per fan revenue, food and merchandise, but having more effective marketing. It's a targeted marketing from having a data-driven, closely knit ecosystem of data. And you're creating a real emotional connection with your fans. To be able to send targeted ads through your app directly to a group of seats with a family, offering children's discounts, etc. And also doing away with seasonality and driving year-round use and avoiding obsolescence. So these are some of the advantages to the fan as well as to the investor.
So fan design is now directly linked to asset value, essentially. And Mark, as Qiddiya plans a new generation of venues, which global trends are really shaping how you're approaching planning and flexibility and the long-term asset performance that is so valuable?
So we work with state-of-the-art architects, the likes of Populous, HOK. They've been involved in some of the biggest most challenging venues globally. So we look at best practice, we do a lot of benchmarking, they do a lot of benchmarking, looking at other venues, but ultimately it's about making sure we can take those venues and they're applicable, they make sense, they make commercial, of what happens in Saudi Arabia. We need to adapt them to localize what they become. We have 3 pillars within sports of part of our strategy. One is to host events, and we know that there's some mega events coming like the World Cup, like Asian Games. 2, we want to help to develop Saudi athletes and provide pathways, so we need training venues. The 96, I think it is, sports federations in Saudi Arabia and the ministry will come to be housed at Qiddiya, so we make sure there's high performance facilities are available for them. And we also have aspirations to be a top 10 active city in the world. So all of our venues need to encompass hosting events, developing athletes, having high performance components, but also then integrating how the community will also use them on a day-to-day basis to drive the interactivity. So we look globally, we try and adapt regionally, we look at where the gaps exist. And one of the challenges we have is making this work within the city environment as well. So again, coming back to this big jigsaw puzzle, we're continually moving the pieces around, and we're coming up with something that's quite unique globally by taking those best practices and making sure that we do apply them into the local context of what we want to do in Saudi.
And just very quickly, how difficult is it to become one of the top 10 most active cities in the world?
We've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
But you've got to give everyone an environment, right? So again, whether it's 6-a-side football pitches, basketball pitches, we want to work on racket sports. We align ourselves with the key sports in Saudi Arabia. But look, the country is diversifying. A lot more people are coming and living here from all sorts of communities, all sorts of geographies. So we make sure we cater also on a global level. Everyone has different preferences, whether it's running, cycling, just being active on a daily basis. We make sure we cater for everyone. So again, part of the really interesting challenge we have to face.
Mm-hmm. And Xavier, from an operator's perspective, what needs to be considered right now for Saudi to fully capitalize on the opportunity at hand and make its stadiums really world-class beyond the architecture?
Yeah, it's a very unique position where the market's at the moment. We were just talking backstage amongst the group about this increasing collaboration amongst the groups as the market slightly consolidates, but then we look toward execution. It's not like there's all these assets being built. They're being built in parallel, which is very unique. It's sort of something that we probably haven't seen at this scale before. And it presents tremendous opportunity to think about how we create greater commonality across the assets. You're talking PIF and MOS. You're conceivably building 8 to 10 new assets in that time. So how they work more closely together and how stakeholders like Surge and the operating aspects support that ecosystem, because there's massive procurement aspects and there's massive content requirements. And there's aspects like FM that we sort of think about the capex that we invest in an asset at the start. It's the ongoing OPEX that is significant later on, that if we're going to make good decisions now, they will, if we make these good decisions now, they will benefit us for many, many years ahead. So that's probably more broader. As it comes to operators, I think what we need to bring into the kingdom now, we've got some good operators, but we can enhance that by bringing greater global best practice whilst still having the nuance that is Saudi and the way the Saudi consumer accepts their sport, their entertainment, what their expectations are. That's the part we've got to try and fix right now.
The other part to that, Ramir, is whilst we're building 32 specific sports assets, that hardware, we need software, we need IPs, we need events. And so we work with the likes of Surge to look at what they're seeing in the marketplace, what events can we work together on bringing to Qiddiya. And so it's a very collaborative effort, but we need to get the mix right, and those discussions and collaboration alignment with all the different stakeholders, Ministry of Sport, Olympic committees, the Surges of the world, and also the private sector. We want to engage and work out how do we best bring the investment into Saudi Arabia.
And year-round relevance is really critical as well, is it not?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, further to Mark's point, though, I mean, we're sort of making decisions where we need tenants. There's these dynamics that we're talking about as a World Cup. It's easy to think about a World Cup as a point in time, but there's a legacy piece about what the market requires thereafter as well. and making good decisions now about, you know, structurally how it's going to be shaped in terms of tenancies or use and flexibility of the assets and things like that, and then working together with asset owners and broader stakeholders about content pipeline and things like that, and making sure we're realistic about what we can and can't achieve in this market to ensure that these assets realise their potential. It's very complex and it's very difficult, but it's very exciting to work on these types of projects.
And just expanding on that, I mean, how do you design stadiums that are really mixed-use destination assets rather than single event venues?
Yeah, so I mean, we work with these state-of-the-art architects who have worked on some of the biggest venues. Now, SoFi Stadium in California is an amazing venue. Often people talk about Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in North London. We've got to take the best practices from them and see what it then applies back to the kingdom. But you know, in my day when I used to go to a stadium, we'd sit on an asphalt bank, and if I was lucky, I would have a lukewarm meat pie. That was my fan experience. That's not the way of the world these days. It's all about building stadiums for fans, for spectators. The customer journey is really at the heart of decision making that we're doing. And then you talk about mixed use. We need retail. We need F&B. It's great for people it's easy to capture people to watch their favorite football team. Al Hilal fans will come and watch Al Hilal. Al Nassr fans will come and watch Al Nassr. That's 60 days of football. But what's going to take people who aren't interested in watching a football match to a venue? So we need a museum in our stadium. We need great restaurants. We want to have attractions that take people to there all year round. And that's again, getting that mix right takes a lot of research, a lot of benchmarking, and making sure it's, you know, it fits culturally into the environment we're trying to build at Qiddiya.
Mm-hmm. And then that brings us to Peter and the stadium life cycle. Where do you see the strongest opportunities for private sector participation that improve both returns and the experience?
Yeah, going back to my home state of California, excuse me, but Intuit Dome is considered another one of the top arenas in the world, and it's all about engagement technology. It's all about making that customer journey as bespoke and memorable as you can, and really thinking about the little things. So, you know, frictionless entry and frictionless buying of food and beverage through whether facial recognition technology or wearables makes it so much easier to buy more when you're in there and to get in. They've got buttons on the seats that allow you to interact. Of course, they have an enormous screen, as they all do, but it allows you to play and interact with other spectators and play in these games. They have designed the stadium to make as much noise as possible. Very interesting. Creating a college basketball feeling and adding to the fun. And very interestingly, they designed more bathrooms than they need. It's quite interesting. Triple the NBA average. They're really thinking about what does we're all human beings. What does a human being want? That's the question I'm asking every day and trying to deliver on that promise. So stadiums like this are doing well by doing good and thinking through the customer's eyes. First of all, you're getting a gold mine of data, and that obviously is today's gold. The whole thing is linked in an information ecosystem, which is fantastic. It all knows what your buying choices are, and it can target you. In Intuit, they have data over 90% of the fans in the arena, as opposed to the industry average about 30%. That's a huge amount of opportunity to monetize and to work with. But also there's a huge amount of upselling potential through various premium seats, clubs, venues, suites, et cetera. And they're driving gross ticketing revenue by 60% up. An additional $45 million of revenue due to these different layers of upselling possibility. And of course, they've done their naming of the stadium. It's Intuit, but they also do other forms of naming and branding within the stadium, increasing concession value. So essentially, they are using technology to drive returns. They're even able to micro-focus on certain niches of people like early arrivers. What is an early arriver? Let's target them. So you can sell that portion of the database to advertisers, et cetera. And so overall, it's basically a customer experience of engagement that turns into a flywheel of potential revenue sources. So it's a very virtuous circle. And I think that Steve Ballmer's personal investment has made that possible, and these are the kinds of investments in engagement that I think that will be happening more often.
Absolutely. I mean, commercial thinking and fan thinking are so closely related, and capitalizing on the data, the vast data that is at hand there, can be just incredibly lucrative. And Xavier, based on Serge's work with operators globally, where do the greatest opportunities sit as it relates to Saudi's sporting infrastructure needs well into the future?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many assets coming online. There's sort of two parts that comes to mind straight away, and that's the content piece, which we've spoken about, and how we create, aligned strategies across all of the assets to ensure that we can bring content in that just isn't just Saudi Pro League content, because the way we're going to maximise these assets is non-match day. There's a lot of those aspects that are going to be taking place. And the other piece is capability and building a pipeline of talent. Like, when you're bringing so many assets online so quickly, like, how do we ensure that we can bring the next generation of Saudis into the venue operating ecosystem? And that's the part. That could be through music, through other forms of entertainment, through operations on match days, but it's also the broader aspects, F&B aspects like that, which are going to be incredibly important. The opportunity that sort of presents for the Kingdom now is we're clearly hosting a World Cup, but can we operate one? And that's the opportunity that probably sits there. I think what we need from broader operators is investment into the people in this country to be the next leaders of these businesses and operating companies, to ensure that at a point in time we can deliver something fantastic and more broadly enhance and uplift the ecosystem. That's the part, that's the opportunity for all of us that we have the ability to influence right now, which is exciting.
So capability development is really where the private sector could play a big role.
For sure.
Yeah.
Without doubt.
And Mark, where do you see early collaboration with private partners making the biggest difference in future-proofing assets?
Look, we engage with private sector on a daily basis through some of our agencies, some of our consultancies. Where I sit, and actually where Peter sit, we're not purchasers. We don't buy a lot of some of the suppliers that come to us, but we're very much engaged in making sure that they speak to the right stakeholders in our organisation. So everything from the early design stage, as you talk about the flexibility in working with different providers of services in the private sector, it can be hardware, it can be software. There's so many things that we do engage with the private sector on. And because we're trying to build venues that are multi-purpose, they have flexibility, everything from, we're announcing a venue actually right now as we speak in another part of town, which is really exciting, one of our big iconic venues. So that'll be announced a bit later this afternoon. And we're also announcing another significant venue in the next couple of months. And that venue will have a capacity to host a number of different events. It's a very specific sports venue. So we start looking at things like MICE events. We start looking at festivalization of sports. We start looking at family entertainment. So we're an investment company. We're not experts in those areas. So we want to work with partners that can bring the content, that can help us with festivals, help us with MICE events. We want to host these things at our venues. So engagement is ongoing. We're open for business. Those discussions are live, and we welcome them.
It's all about really driving the non-match day event. You have a certain number of match days. That's great. What are you going to do the rest of the year? And that's the big focus. And your success in driving your non-match day, that's where it's won or lost, essentially. It's really easy to focus on those big key days. The detailed working and scheduling and programming the rest of the year is what really matters.
And that really brings us to the value chain. I mean, when a stadium becomes part of a larger entertainment and hospitality destination, how does that make it a better investment?
Yeah, look, it's all about critical mass, and Qiddiya is based on that principle. Anyone who's looked at the amount of different entertainment venues, et cetera, that are going into the city of Qiddiya would know that that's the idea. We're bringing together a critical mass. Orlando or Las Vegas, et cetera, you're creating similar asset typologies at scale, bringing a kind of regional critical mass to the area, which is entertainment, F&B, it's sports, it's hospitality, all at a range of price points, all at a range of budgets that we feel will bring in the most people and satisfy demand. So these are synergistic assets coexisting in an urban fabric that we think will be quite compelling. And so essentially critical mass is kind of the Las Vegas effect, where you are going to the cluster. You're not going to a specific asset in the cluster anymore. The cluster, that regional location, Orlando is your destination, and the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So that's what we're really focusing on.
And I think when you talk about the public sector, private sector value chain, we're continually getting, having workshops with the PIF. We work with the likes of Surge, and it's an ongoing process. And anyone that's been to Saudi over the last few years has seen the rapid dynamic change that's happening in the society here. And it's maturing incredibly quickly at a rate probably not seen around the world from where Saudi and Riyadh were probably half a dozen years ago. So it is maturing. We are working and getting closely aligned, and the private sector need to get on the train, so to speak, because we have scalable spend, we have power of the purchase, and so we're able to really have meaningful discussions. But they have to be two-way discussions, in terms of how we're going to do business going forward as well.
Especially since the venue now becomes part of a much bigger destination economy. There are a lot more discussions to be had, aren't there? And Xavier, where are the most immediate private sector opportunities emerging as it relates to venue operations?
Yeah, I mean, I keep harping on content and training and development and those aspects. Like they do feel very real. But collaboration with the things behind the scenes, the nuts and bolts that ultimately make venues perform well and ultimately can, if you make good decisions, save money. And we talk about FM. I saw the guys from Next Venue in the building here. I mean, they're a good example of a business that Mosinada and Dussman worked very closely on the World Cup in Qatar. All of the FM continue to do that, did it at scale, and that's probably the opportunity that we see now, that it's a multi-asset approach, and bringing that together and realising those synergies and economies is something that having the right mindset and partners with the right mindset to come in and help look at it like that is something that we see evolving and moving, and it's the simple things like that FM, and there'll be a whole range of other areas, and the content is broad and vast and significant. So it's sort of there's other aspects. So we need to lift the security, the basic things that we need to work on making consumption here predictable. Because at the moment, I think we've all gone to different sporting events, and it's just not that predictable yet. We're all working hard and trying very hard to evolve that. But once we make commonality and that you're clear on the communications around traffic in the morning, and your club, operators and clubs working closer together about communication with fans and all those sorts of things. We're trying to reduce the barriers of consumption. And that's where there's a whole lot of different businesses and private sector opportunities as it relates to the value chain of just coming to a match day and consuming it in a way that is predictable.
The private sector opportunities are immediate. They are not theoretical, that is for sure. And Mark, across design and construction, technology integration and lifestyle management, where is private expertise most critical?
In all those areas.
Yeah.
So look, we in some ways we're quite general with I'm a sports guy. I look at sports business, but I'm not an expert in sports technology or fan experience or stadium design. So we need to work with experts in every single phase. We have a development team. They seek outside expertise. I work more on the events and the content and the sponsorships and the commercialization of our venues. I need experts to come and give me input, what's best in class, how we're going to go to market, how we're going to operationalize things. We work with the likes of Surge. We've done a lot of work actually in the sports tech space. So we're looking at recommendations on where they're thinking the kingdom should be going in terms of fan experience, in terms of stadium technology. We work with, again, our in-house teams. So we're taking advice on all those subjects because you can't be experts in everything. So we engage with the private sector in different ways. PIF also, I know Shane's in the room, also feeds into us a lot of key areas that the PIF are looking at specifically. And then we work with the stakeholders like Surge, who've got very defined pockets of expertise that we work with them. So internally, we have a lot of departments, even with Peter with asset management. We're making sure we're getting aligned on their requirements to maximize and generate as much revenue from the venues, but it starts working with all the stakeholders in the private sector. So everything, we're open for business.
Private sector partners can add value from day one through to operations. And Peter, tell us about the types of private sector players that really should be looking at this space from an investment standpoint.
Look, there's a lot of different ways to play this, and I've talked already about advertisers, marketers, et cetera, using the smart technology, the engagement technology, but also private equity obviously will invariably find their seat at the table. I would imagine just going back to consumer products, branding, et cetera, but also real estate developers in general who want to incorporate these next-gen technologies for engagement, increasing that customer experience into what they're building. Long-term investors, infrastructure investors, investing, contributing a ground lease parcel to a partnership, freeing up capital from the developer, from the owner that can now go into innovation. Lenders might look at structured credit products, syndicated deals, et cetera, based on all the new tranches of income that this new business is affording. Some prefer more of a lease structure where an operator, again, or a promoter would provide a long-term lease. The latest trend, I think, in esports is more of a shared risk, where basically the owner, the venue, might give away the majority of ticket sale revenue in order to get a slice of that extremely lucrative streaming. And the streaming and the broadcasting rights in esports are the big game and what people are playing for. They might actually give away half of the merchandising rights, but be able to keep a good chunk of the streaming rights, because that was it's all about. So yeah, there's very different ways to play it at different levels of risk and opportunity.
We are running out of time, but just one final question to all of our panelists. The single biggest opportunity today for the private sector in Saudi's sports and entertainment infrastructure build-out. Mark.
I was going to leave it to my gentleman. I might take up all the answers here. Look, as I said, we're very engaged with private sector. Our project is too complex to think that we can do it ourselves. And again, we're building a city, so every element of that's important. With my sports hat on, look, we're building amazing hardware. Our stadiums are state-of-the-art globally. They will stand the test of time for decades to come. So we're looking at content, we're looking at IPs, we're looking at event programming over the next 15 to 20 years. So our aspirations are big. Every part of the ecosystem, we're interested in having developed discussions with all the stakeholders. So the view in the world is endless, really, from our side.
There is no single biggest opportunity.
No. There's this. You look at somebody spent the last 30 years of my life in private equity, real estate investing, and asset management. We're trained to look for demographics, numbers. We're trained to look for competition. And as I look at Saudi right now, I see an incredible confluence of this extremely youthful population, 60% under the age of 30. Europe obviously would hugely envy those kinds of numbers, and as well as combined with many of these venues have been traditionally underserved, underdeveloped. Cinemas obviously were not built until 2018. So there is a huge underrepresentation of many of these entertainment assets, combined with a very youthful and dynamic population base. So keeping in mind the critical mass, things we've talked about, just really focusing on, sports and entertainment, I think, in Saudi, specifically esports, which is obviously the kingdom has established as where they want to lead. The World Cup will be held here every year going forward, and that is a natural place to focus. So, yeah, we find a very compelling opportunities across the kingdom right now.
Absolutely. Xavier.
It's collaboration. I mean, these complex problems require complex solutions, and the scale in Qiddiya is a great example. It means you have to think differently about how you solve that. Surge is building a venue operating business, a best-in-class, venue operating business that, in some respects, would look like at a point it will be in competition with that, with different vendors in the market. But the reality is there's more opportunity for collaboration than competition, I would say, just because of the sheer scale and volume of what's going on. So thinking differently, although it might have been done a particular way in the market previously, this is a whole new ball game, and I think that creates opportunity for everyone to work more closely together.
Absolutely. I think it's clear from our conversation that stadiums are ecosystems with broad opportunities for private sector participation across the entire value chain. And I want to thank you very much for sharing your insights with us today, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have a question from the audience. Unfortunately, our time has run out, but please feel free to approach our speakers and have a conversation with them privately on the sidelines. Yes.
Cheers.
Well done.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you? Okay, thank you, Ramya, and your esteemed panelists for a great session. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we conclude our travel, tourism, and entertainment ecosystem stage. And as we reflect on the 4th edition of the PIF Private Sector Forum, one thing is clear: momentum is growing, and the opportunities are expanding, and the collaboration between the private sector and the PIF is stronger than ever. Thank you for being part of this journey, and enjoy the rest of the forum at the plenary stage. Thank you.